Mama Put Restaurant Story, Episode 5. The night had left scars deeper than cane marks. Agirl and Bolingo tossed restlessly on their raffia mat, their bulky eyes swollen from both tears and sleep. Mama Put's anger had roared like thunder, her beating falling like rain without mercy. The twins had not only felt the sting on their flesh but also the shame of guilt pressed on their young hearts. By dawn, when the rooster crowed and the wind stirred dust across the brown zinc roofs of the underdeveloped town, the twins rose in silence. Agirl's kiko braids hung tiredly on her head, Bolingo's low haircut was rough with sleep. They dressed for school without a word, no teasing, no laughter, only the heaviness of last night between them. Even the little jokes that usually floated between them died in the air. The journey to school was slow. Their legs dragged on the stony, uneven path, past women balancing firewood on their heads, past children fetching water in yellow jerrycans. But unlike the others, their faces carried no light. Their souls were bent like a plant beaten by harmattan wind. In class, their silence grew heavier. When the teacher's chalk scraped against the blackboard, they laid their heads down, their eyes closing in surrender. While others read loudly and repeated lessons in chorus, Agirl and Bolingo slept. Their sleep was not the sweet rest of children but the heavy slumber of hearts still wounded. The class teacher watched them with growing worry. She was not blind to their change. Only days ago these twins were bright, quick, and eager. Now, they looked like flowers wilting in the sun. At dismissal, she called them into her office. Her voice was soft, her face motherly. "My children," she began, folding her hands, "I see your eyes have lost their shine. I see your steps no longer dance. Tell me, what troubles you? What is this burden you carry?" The twins exchanged glances. Fear sat between them. Agirl shook her head. Bolingo looked at the floor. "Nothing more," they muttered together, their voices barely audible. The teacher sighed deeply, as if her spirit knew the truth they would not speak. She let them go, though her heart was restless. The dusty road carried them back to Mama Put's restaurant. The air was already thick with the smell of palm oil, pepper, and fish frying in the big iron pot. Mama Put, her dark skin shining with sweat, stood bent over the fire, her size 18 frame filling the little kitchen space. Her wrapper was tied tight around her waist, her headscarf loose from the heat. The coolers sat ready, one for rice, one for stew, one for drinks chilled only by shade since there was no fridge in that town of flickering light. Agirl and Bolingo, though still weak, moved to help. They dragged the long benches into place, wiped the wooden tables, and set the coolers open. Soon the sound of the street filled the shop, customers calling, plates clattering, money changing hands. But this day was different. Mama Put did not send them to Uncle Soji as she often did. The memory of yesterday's quarrel was still fresh, like pepper in the eye. Instead, she tied her scarf tighter, carried the food herself, and walked down to Uncle Soji's house. When she reached his compound, she wore a smile painted with both apology and strategy. The tray she carried was heavy with extra portions, thick meat, generous stew, and fresh fish. Uncle Soji sat, his bulky body relaxed as he tore into the meal. His anger of yesterday seemed to fade with every bite. Mama Put bowed slightly, her eyes watching for his approval. He nodded with satisfaction, and her heart softened. She greeted him and returned, relief in her steps. Back at the restaurant, she joined Agirl and Bolingo. They worked until the lamps dimmed and the benches emptied. At night, the three of them walked home together, tired, their feet dragging in the dust. And so it went, for 1 week. Mama Put carried Uncle Soji's meals herself. But her strength was not endless. Each day she grew more tired, her arms aching from lifting pots, her legs heavy from walking back and forth. On the 7th day, her body reminded her, even the Iroko tree must rest when its roots test. That afternoon, the restaurant overflowed. Men shouted for food, women clapped impatiently, children tugged at their mother's wrappers. The air was filled with heat, smoke, and noise. Mama Put's wrapper was soaked in sweat as she shouted orders, dished rice, and collected money. She could not leave the restaurant. Yet Uncle Soji's food had to be delivered. Her eyes darted to the twins. Her mind raced. Agirl once confessed it was Bolingo who persuaded her to eat from Uncle Soji's food. If I send them together, mischief may repeat itself. Better I trust the girl alone than risk the two. A single broomstick cannot sweep well, but it cannot also scatter the whole yard. She packed the food carefully into a tray, the aroma strong. She pressed it into Agirl's hands. Her eyes, sharp and commanding, met her daughter's. Go quickly. Deliver this food. Do not delay, and may your feet not stumble. Bolingo stood still, his bulky eyes following his sister. Worry nodded at him, though he said nothing. Agirl stepped into the hot afternoon sun, the tray balanced carefully. Her heart pounded. Each step felt heavy. The dust rose around her feet, the narrow street seemed strangely quiet, and the shadows stretched long. For the first time, she was walking to Uncle Soji's house alone. The drums of destiny began to beat softly in the distance. For in this world, the river does not run backward except something strange lies at its source. What awaited Agirl at Uncle Soji's door? Would her mother's trust prove wise, or would it open the door to new sorrow? Sparkles to be continued.